objectives of this course is just to give an overview about aircraft interior monuments and what are the different type of aircraft interior monuments and what are the purposes, and how to model them in pattern, because all these cabin interior monuments are composite aircraft structures, and it's some of the cabin interior monuments are simple and some of them are complex. So this particular course will give you a very, very brief idea to you all about modeling and analysis of composite cabin interior monuments using MSE pattern. And we'll also discuss on what are all the challenges that are involved in the analysis of this cabin interior monuments. And also during this complete course, I'll be telling you what are all the best practices that we are using in the current industry, so that it will be helpful for all the participants here, those who are willing to take up a career in aircraft interior analysis industry. Here I have listed the key players, those who are involved in the industry, or making or manufacturing and analysis of aircraft interior products and components. We have got many major players here: Boeing, Airbus, Collins Aerospace, which I have previously worked as a project lead for the aircraft interior components. We worked on A350 XWB aircraft. I was leading the cabin interiors stress analysis group for close to 5 years, and I have worked with more aircraft players also. So this particular slide I have just added to show who are all the major players and what is the revenue that an aircraft industry or an aircraft interior company is generating in the aerospace sector. Here you could see on the right, I have just put a figure showing the numbers or the revenue that is generated by some of the major aircraft interior companies. You could see like BE Systems or Collins Aerospace now, they generate 1,600 million a year, or it's one of the major marketing or one of the major key player in the market. And along with Zodiac Aerospace, who they're based in different sites, they're based in different countries. They're based in France, UK, and they're based in US. Recently, Collins Aerospace, we have started working with Collins Aerospace in India to do the structural analysis of the cabin interiors, whereas most of the job is outsourced to Philippines. So in this, by knowing about cabin interiors and getting and understanding the challenges about the structural analysis and taking a career in cabin interiors and the structures manufacturing and as well as in analysis, I think it will be a good opening up or a marketing opportunity for our Indian engineers to pitch in and then take up the opportunity to work on some of the major aircrafts. And by doing that, people in India or young engineers like you all will get an opportunity to work on the composite aircraft interior monuments. Here I have shown some of the major interior components that an aircraft has. You could see this galley, a typical galley in the aircraft, and galley is a structure where the flight attendants, they do multiple things, and in terms of heating up a beverage or preparing your coffee or storing your food and storing all miscellaneous items there, and then they serve food to the passengers. That's the main purpose of the galley. Apart from the galley, we have got laboratory, and seats. And again, in seats, there are different type of seats like economic class, business class, and first class seats are there. And again, in galleys, there are different type of galleys where you could see center line galley and then a lateral galley. Lateral galley is one on the sides, and there will be an in this picture I have not shown the aft complex galley. Aft complex is the galleys, those are the big structural galleys at the back, and the average structural weight of the of one single aft complex galley is around 1400 to 1500 kilos. So that particular massive structure, or a big structure is mounted inside the aircraft, is for the sole purpose of serving the people and the passengers. So we'll be understanding few things about aircraft interior components, especially this particular course. The main objective of this course is to get you all familiarized how we are going to model typically a monument or a galley in MRC pattern. So it's the main objective of the course is not to go deeply on the interiors, but it's to get you used, or is to make you get an hands-on experience of working with pattern on the interior components. So meanwhile, in the original course, I'll be also telling how these aircraft interior components are manufactured, and what materials we are using, and I'll be also telling you what are all the requirements that customer has put forth, or what are all the challenges that I have personally faced working on the aircraft interior structural analysis business side. So as I mentioned before, this particular course is just an overview of aircraft interior, cabin interior monuments. And so that's why I've just added this particular slide, just to show what is the generic requirements from a customer or from an airline when we are doing an aircraft interior design, or when you're designing a particular monument or a galley. They put forward few mandatory requirements. So those are the generic requirements that we should keep in mind while designing this galley or a monument. One of the first of such requirement is these galleys and monuments, they should be able to act as a single unit or an integral assembly, because when they are mounted to the aircraft, when they are attached with the aircraft structure, they are attached to the floor using the lower attachments, and they are attached to the airframe using the upper attachments. And these galleys or the monuments, they should not come free when there is a crash case, or when the airplane is diving in the diving mode, or when the airplane is landing. They should not come loose, and they should not cause any injury to the occupant. So all these monuments should be able to act as a single unit and take the payloads. Whatever load is there, they should be able to withstand that. And all these, apart from the structural panels, these monuments or these galleys, they have got all decorative panels, trolley carts where the meal is stored or the food is stored, and all other electrical system, water system, and all other things, they all are mounted to the structural panels of these galleys. So these galleys, they should be in a position to take this particular load on from coming from these particular the extra things that are mounted to it, like decorative panels and water pipeline and vent lines and drain services, etc. And when I talked about the loads, the main loads or the galley, as soon as when as an industry, when you have started designing the galley, and when you reach a stage when you're supporting the design with your stress analysis, and then the design goes into manufacturing stage. And once you go into the manufacturing stage, you might encounter lot of challenges. And again, once the manufacturing stage is complete, you will be in a stage to certify the product, because anything that any manufacturer that is doing, it needs to go through a proper certification route before it can be installed in an aircraft. So here the certifying authority for the all European aerospace majors, or EASA, so European Aeronautical Safety Agency. So any design or any component that you are manufacturing, uh, or anything that you are producing as a company, it has to go through a proper certification route, and it has to be certified by EASA. So the EASA has laid out certain rules and regulations. They have set up certain rules and regulation. They have set up certain procedures by which we can go and get our product certified. So this particular CS25 or 14 CFR requirements, or Part 21J requirements, are nothing but they tell what are all the loads, and they basically they talk about everything. It's not only about the loads, but one section of it talk about the loads that a cabin interior structure or an aircraft structure is supposed to withstand during its course of operation or during its service life. So this particular requirement, like CS25 requirement or 14 CFR Part 25, it's one and the same, is derived from Part 21 Subpart J, like which talks about design organization approval. And again, that part, the entire Part 21 itself is such a big topic, and it can be talked for days. And there are many rules and regulation applicable for different industries, like normal aircraft industry or a transport aircraft industry, then helicopter industry, and there are so many different rules and regulations. And as a cabin interior company, or as a cabin interior manufacturer, you should be worried about that particular part which is applicable to you. And when you go back and check what are all the applicable things that you have to, your product or the product that you are developing, which is a cabin interior product, it should show compliance to CS25 rules and regulations. If you look at CS25, if you even Google CS25 rules and regulations, it will be divided into so many sections and so many subparts and parts. And these particular rules and regulations, they tell how a structure should look like, and what are all the loads that structure, a particular structure, in the course of its service, and what should be the factor of safety, and what are all the special things you should consider when you are testing that structure, what are all the special things that you consider when you are trying to analyze a structure and get it certified, and like that. So all these rules and regulations we have to follow, or you have to follow, when you're designing or doing stress analysis, or when you're manufacturing. You have to keep all the key things in mind, so that your product is finally achieves certificate, or your product gets certified. So without getting your product certified, your product is not going to go and get installed in the aircraft. So the certification is one of the very important part. of the entire design process and in the design industry. So this one of the thing, but I can in the actual course I'll be telling about few things from CS 25 rules and regulations which you have to keep in mind when you're doing stress analysis, or when you're seeking a job in the aircraft interior industry. And the key thing is the galley or monument, they shall not provide any structural load paths due to deflection of the shell. The thing is, when you look at the way they're installed, I'm just going to go back to the previous slide here. If you look at the way they're installed in an actual aircraft, they are installed in different door zones. They're installed near, and they are installed close to the seat where the passenger is sitting. They're also installed close to the alleyways where the passenger can walk. So in the practical scenario, these galleys or monuments, whatever load or whatever payloads along combined with the inertial factor that the entire aircraft or this monument is subjected to, they should not deflect too much, and they should not cause any injury to the occupant. That's what I mentioned it earlier. And again, it's a special point that the CS25 requirement tells that they should not undergo too much deformation or deflection. And practically that will cause disturbance, or that will have a clash with a seat, or that will have a clash with any other compartment divider wall, that will have a clash with that will cause the egress problem, trying to disturb the passenger evacuation way and things like that. They should not undergo such deflection. So that's one of the main thing that they are putting forward to us. And the other thing is, all these cabin interior monuments, they should be substantiated to all the worst case loading conditions, including crash inertia cases, and to different configuration. There are different configuration in case of cabin interiors, because some of the cabin interiors, they've got a baby bassinet attaching to the cabin interiors, and those baby bassinets are nothing but it's just like a bassinet where the babies will be put to sleep. If someone is traveling with a baby on the aircraft, and they will attach baby bassinet once the aircraft attains a certain altitude, and once the aircraft attains a level flight, they will attach the bassinet so that they can put the baby to sleep, or place the baby inside. And attached in the takeoff, taxi, and landing (TTL) cases, and those are attached only during the in-flight cases. And that's one of the special consideration that we have to have when we are analyzing a particular galley or a monument which has got a baby bassinet. So if you get a chance to analyze that, that means you need to analyze for the ultimate load conditions without the baby bassinet, and the in-flight load conditions with the baby bassinet. So that's what I've told. Like when you're analyzing a particular monument or a particular galley or a laboratory, you have to take into consideration all possible alternate configurations in the mind, and you should cover everything, because the certifying authority or your customer, for example, if you're doing a product for a customer like Boeing or Airbus, they have got their own reviewers, stress reviewers, and stress approvers, and they all are going to review your analysis and the analysis report that you are producing. And they go through even step by step, and if they find anything missing, and they're going to come back to you and tell, hey, you guys have missed this, this is not covering, so we are not going to approve your report. And they just simply reject your report. So you have to cover all possible configurations and all possible load conditions. And in some of the cases, the galley and interior monuments are subjected to abuse loads. Abuse loads are nothing but the loads that anyone or any passenger or any crew member can exert on the galley. So it's just they can, while handling the stuffs, they can just lean on the galley, or they can push the door too hard, and those kind of things. Those are the abuse loads. So when you are doing a structural analysis to require all the requirements, you should be fulfilling all the requirements to get your product properly certified. So we should always keep this in mind. And when you have a feel that you have missed something, it's always better to discuss with your boss or with your colleagues, and get to have a full idea about what you are doing and what results you are seeing and what you're producing.